Hi everyone, it's Gregor here. So I'm taking over the show for the final episode of the year. So thanks for tuning in. And my guest this week is the one and only John Lunn.
Hi, Gregor.
Hey John, welcome to the show.
Well,
Nice to
thank you
have you
very
on.
much. Thanks for having me on, and yeah, thanks for hosting. How you doing?
No, you're very welcome. So we're doing a little Christmas special here. So it's my turn to end conversation with John because I wanted to get you on, John, and speak to you and ask you all the questions so that everyone in the community gets to know you a little bit better. So I have lots of things I want to talk to you about. I've written them all down, so don't forget. So if you see me looking up, I'm reading them out. Got loads of
No, that's
questions
brilliant.
for you.
And thanks for doing this. It was an awesome idea. I really, feel privileged
Oh,
you offering to do this for me, Gregor. It's awesome.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
No, I think it's good. So let's get started. So I want to make people aware of you a little bit more. So tell me a little bit about where you're from, being born in Wales, and where do you live, and kind of your kind of. Oh yeah, tell me all about Wales and things like that. Your
Yeah,
background.
yeah, no problem. So, I mean, I was born. I'm a '70s child, Gregor. Can you believe it? So,
Same
I
here.
was born.
Me
I
too.
was born late '70s in the capital of Wales, Cardiff. So, I'm a city boy, born and bred in Cardiff. Lived in Cardiff until I was about 15, 16 years old. My dad. He's a retired builder now, but he was a builder, and he had this ambition in life. He wanted to build his own place. So we ended up moving to a little town called Ebervale, which is probably about 30 miles north of Cardiff, where my dad kind of fulfilled his ambition of building his own place. And I remember helping him on the builder's site, lifting all of that that heavy stuff that you need to build a house. So it kind of turned me off manual labour for life, I think, that
Mhm.
that that,
Can
that kind
imagine.
of lifestyle. But yeah, so I lived up in Ebervale for a little while and kind of stayed around that area then. So, like I say, I'm just north of Cardiff now. I'm living in a little town called Newbridge. Purely because you know what it's like with anything in life. You kind of stay close to your friends and your
Yeah.
family. You end up getting a job in a local company, which is what I did, and yeah, that's where I've been. So I've been in Newbridge now for probably it's a good 15 years or so now, I think, something like that. But yeah, it's all good, all good.
What's the best part of living in Wales? Do you think for you?
Best part of living in Wales. Well, I think Wales is a very scenic country. You know, like I say, I was born and raised in the city. I mean, it's nothing like London, Cardiff. You know what I mean? It's a
Mhm.
lot on a lot smaller scale, obviously. But yeah, I think living in a suburban area and kind of in amongst buildings is one thing. But I think if you push up into mid Wales or certainly along the South Wales and West Wales coastline, there's some absolutely phenomenal places to go and visit. It's just a lovely, picturesque country, and I've been lucky to kind of visit a few of the places now over in between lockdowns when the restrictions got lifted and we
Mhm.
weren't allowed certain areas. We managed to do a few little trips around Wales, and yeah, it's a great place to be. And of course, there's that Celtic pride. I'm sure as a Scottish fellow,
Yep.
you have a
Yep.
very similar feeling, with sporting events and that. It's just we're a very small nation, and I think a proud Welshman is probably the best way to put it. But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great place to live.
Good. Yeah, I think. And during COVID, a lot of people have discovered where they live a bit more, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
definitely.
Yeah.
You don't realise, do you? It's on your doorstep. A lot of these
No, I know.
places, and we're always kind of either looking to jet off to the sun or do a long distance trip. Well, I know I'm guilty of that a lot of the time, but yeah, you're right. You fail to realise literally what's around the corner from you half the time.
Okay, so talk me through how you got into IT and then how it all began.
Yeah, okay. So I guess like I say most of us, lots of people I've spoken to through the in conversation with Suze, we always seem to have a very similar introduction to IT, and I guess maybe it's the age, maybe it's the where we live and how we live, whatever. But I don't think I had any real different kind of intro to IT. In my early days, I remember my sister was bought a Commodore 64 by my parents. I must have been about 6 or 7 years old at the time, and I just remember getting the magazines and the tapes off from the news agents and reading them and doing a bit of coding, and I had no idea what coding was at that age. It was basic coding, this blue screen, go to 10, go to 50, all of that kind of stuff. And I remember tinkering and playing games, and that was if you like, my introduction to computing back then. And I kind of remember growing my Commodore 64 setup to include a dot matrix printer, a 5.25-inch floppy drive, and a modem back then. And that was probably kind of by the time I had all of that stuff, probably early mid 90s. Kind of well before the internet kind of took off as we know it today. And, it was one of those things that I just enjoyed it. But I never actually worked in IT. So I kind of, it's like anything, as a kid growing up, for me, I wanted to be an internationally famous rock star. That was my kind of
right.
where I was going, with guitar and drums, playing in bands. But that kind of, it was always an ambition. It was always a dream. But I think what happened is that it was there fixated. And through school, I wasn't overly brilliant in high school. I was probably a bit lazy. I got just good enough grades to get through high school. And my parents said, right, you've got to go and do something at college. And I actually went and did performing arts. So I did music and drama and things like that for 2 years. Didn't have a clue. Didn't know other than I'm going to be this rock star. So, of course, you come out of college, kind of have to earn a bit of money. So I got a job at a local firm doing data entry just to earn some money to fulfill me on my dream of becoming that rock star. But lo and behold, we start earning money, and of course, that kind of sets in. Then you kind of start being able to buy the nice things in life, I guess. And it actually took me about 7 years to finally land a job in IT. So I wasn't actually working in IT until I was probably about 23, 24 years old, I think, something like that. And the way it came about is that I'd always kind of kept that interest in IT. I was always the person in the office that would fix the printer, would work out or change a report in Access, or update a query to get some new information. I was always that go-to person, and I'd always be tinkering with Dreamweaver and Flash, and building my friends' websites and music and band websites. I look back and think, you remember websites like MySpace and places like that. I was always tinkering with that, but I never really saw it as a career. I honestly didn't for a long, long time. So yeah, it took a while. Then I finally realised, early 20s, look, I really would like to get a job in IT. And back then, I mean, it's slightly different now maybe, but back then it certainly was the case that you kind of had to have a degree or that kind of level of qualification to get into IT. So I started doing an Open University degree, and it was like anything. I started learning, and I think that's where I got the bug of starting to learn. And I think the one thing uni taught me was how to learn, and how to keep on top of those learnings. So I did that. I did the degree. The company I was working for at the time actually funded it for me because they could see I was passionate about it, and they turned around and said, do you want to work in IT? So yeah, I mean, they made that happen for me effectively. So I ended up working for the company I was working at in IT, doing this computer science degree, and then went on to do some postgrad master's courses as well. So I ended up learning for about 10 years and working in IT. So yeah, that was a bit of a convoluted but potted history of how I got into IT, Gregor.
And tell me about what you do now. Where do you work, and what's your role? What kind of things are you up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for BT Enterprise. It's predominantly UK customer focused. There's lots of parts of BT. It's a huge company, but the area I work in a service arm in a cloud practice as it is now. We're predominantly Microsoft focused. So I sit in the Azure team, if you like. So all that cloud platform kind of migration, innovation kind of pieces of work. My role, I technically, I think my job title is something like lead consultant specialist, but I think it translates through that I'm sat in an architect position within BT Enterprise. So my job is to kind of go and meet with BT's customers, understand the pain points, what the problems that they're having, what they're looking to achieve with their journey to the cloud, to try and help make that as seamless and as painless as possible for customers, and then kind of join up the technical teams then that go deep dive and deliver some of the stuff. It took me a while actually to move away from delivery into this more of so I kind of straddle the kind of technical pre-sales and delivery arena. So I'm kind of pulled from pillar to post, I think is probably the best way to put it. But it's good fun. I love it now. I've been working with Azure predominantly for about 4 or 5 years. It's probably coming up to now, something like that. And I love it. It's really good fun. And just the breadth of stuff that you can do with Azure just keeps those opportunities really interesting to work with.
Sounds good. Sounds like you're enjoying it. Right. What do you do when you're not at your computer? What does John Lunn do?
Ooh, what
Not
do I
sitting-
do? So I think obviously COVID has kind of scuppered all our plans over the last year, 18 months. But I think before then, obviously, I had the band. I was playing in bands. I've been playing in bands for most of my adult life, actually, since leaving college. It was always one of those hobbies that I kept up to date with. And, I've got a good bunch of friends and, kind of bandmates that I play with over the years. And yeah, just before COVID struck, actually, I kind of hung up my drumsticks with the band I was playing in because, we were out kind of 2 or 3 nights a week. And it was, with 3 kids, with a family, with work, it was all becoming a bit much. So I actually, took that decision to hang up the drumsticks, so to speak. And and then COVID struck. So now it was, for me, over the last 18 months, has been, predominantly the community activities I've been involved with. That's kind of taken, a lot of my free time, if you like, outside of family and personal life, which I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting awesome folk like yourself, Gregor, and the brilliant, team of community people we've got in the Cloud family, I guess, is phenomenal. It's been such a fun year, 18 months, kind of doing that kind of stuff. But apart from that, I mean, like I say, I've got 3 young-ish kids. They're kind of all, well, nearly all teenagers now. And they're super sporty. So they like to be driven around the country to do their sporting events, which is brilliant. Absolutely. Dad's taxi 100%. So I think because the restrictions have been lifted a bit more and kids can get back to their sports, I'm finding myself now going back to doing that, which is great, we've certainly missed, we've all missed stuff over the last 18 months, 2 years now. So it's great to get back to that as well.
Oh, good. Right, let's move on. Welsh as your user group.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started with that? What was the reason behind starting it? And would you recommend starting a user group? Even an Azure user group to anyone who's maybe thinking about doing that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll answer the last question first, I guess. I mean, the answer to the last question is yeah, absolutely. If there's something that you feel that you've got passion and enthusiasm and time to put into, start a user group. Obviously, in my case, I kind of look around the local area, albeit digitally and through LinkedIn, through Twitter, trying to find like-minded people to kind of build up a little bit of a local community. I didn't really know how big community was across the tech space at the time. So I was thinking, right, if I could find, kind of a dozen or so people in and around where I live, that'd be cool, just to kind of hook up with them. They work for different companies. We've all got different views and experiences. It'd be an awesome thing to be a part of. And there was very little that I could find. So I put a quick message out on LinkedIn. If anybody's in or around the South Wales area, I'm thinking of starting a user group up. Would this be of interest to people? Reach out. I had that kind of message go up, and it kind of blew up quite a bit. It got shared around, this, that, and the other. And what happened then is a lady called Anna McNally, who works for Microsoft. She's a CSA, Cloud Solutions Architect at Microsoft. She reached out to me and said, John, just seen your message. Actually, she's working with a group of people that are in South Wales, and they're looking to resurrect an old dormant user group that was in the area and put it to a bit more of an Azure-focused user group. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. Sign me up. I'm happy to jump in and help out all I can there. So that was probably June, I want to say June time of 2020 when that happened. And I think by July, I joined the first user group and kind of sat in the background watching that. And then moving into August, September was when we rebranded it. We had a few meetings and, we managed to get, I think, 6 or 7 people involved in the group at the time. So there was Anna McNally, there's Matt Fatunka, Ahmed Lajam from Microsoft. Then you had myself working at BT, Richard Griffiths, who works at Confused.com, Abul Khair, who works for Clearbank, and then George Washira, who works for the IPO. So kind of between us, we've had a super fun, it's just been great meeting people, diverse, different opinions, like I say, different experiences, just to kind of feed into this group. And fundamentally, arrange for awesome community speakers and people that maybe haven't spoken before to come along that want to try and break into doing a bit more public speaking. And it's such a nice, safe space. It's a bit of fun. There's no egos. Your egos are left at the door, so to speak. Just all of us are on this journey, and it sounds cliched, I know, but we're all on this journey. We're all there just to learn as best we can, help out in any way that we can, and it really has turned into that. I really look forward to it. Once a month now. At the minute, we're still doing virtual, but really look forward to those sessions just to kind of jump in, say a few words, listen to some awesome speakers, and have a quiz and a bit of fun at the end of it. So it's turned into a really really good fun part of my life. If that makes sense, Gregor.
Yeah, I mean the feedback I get from people just asking them about the Welsh Azure user group is always very, very positive. Some of the guests you've had on have been amazing as well. So yeah, I mean, what I would say is on behalf of everyone else in the community is definitely keep doing it because everybody loves attending it. It's been a lot of fun doing it. Not always managed to attend every one of them, but always try and get along. Definitely keep doing it. I wanted to ask you, what have you learned personally from organising and running it this year?
Oh, well, firstly, Gregor, I think on that point that just to pick you up on the user groups, obviously Welsh Azure user group is one of, I know a lot throughout the UK. Obviously, I know you're part of the Glasgow user group with Sarah. That we got the Northern. There's a bunch, and there's a fantastic link that I share every now and again, which has got the whole list of all the user groups across the UK. And it's really, I'm privileged to be associated with that group of people first and foremost because it's such a diverse, brilliant range of people that. Coming on to your question now, what have I learned? It sounds, again, I don't want to speak in this cliche thing, but I can't stress enough to people that when I started this, I look back in hindsight and I was completely blind and kind of didn't really understand what community was or at the time. And since joining, I think, I could probably do an entire episode in its own right of what have I learned from organising a user group. The obvious things with organizational things, meeting different types of people and different, like I say, those different backgrounds to myself has been fantastic to do and has kind of opened my eyes up to kind of that whole we talk about it a lot in communities, that whole kind of diversity and inclusion of every different race, gender, view, just being respectful of everything just so that you get that kind of big, well, it kind of helps everybody out in the long run effectively. It's opened my eyes up to that side of things. Technically, goes without saying, when we have some technical talks on the user groups, I'm a spectator as much as everybody else that joins in at that stage. I'm literally learning about the same things that the speakers are on with, and that's part of why I thought I'd like to be involved with it, is to bring myself up technically in those areas that I hadn't dealt with or I don't deal with on a day-to-day basis, because Azure is so vast. It's just my way of thinking, well, if I can just stay on top of every now and again, I'll have a couple of sessions to talk about various areas. It would kind of hopefully help me keep that broad view of things, with what was going on in the world. But yeah, even down to things like recording these videos. We were just talking about it now, and the technical glitches you get, Gregor, with recording your.
I can't imagine you have too many of them.
Yeah. We'll move on from that one.
Yeah, that leads you onto your YouTube channel. I wanted to ask you about your In Conversation With and your update show every Friday. How did those ideas come about? Obviously, they've been really successful. So talk a little bit about that and tell us. Yeah, just talk about that because the shows are really, really fantastic. I think everybody loves watching them. So yeah.
Well, I mean, they to be honest with you, I think the whole thing about how I came to do this was really, I mean, to say it as it was a bet with my son to begin with. That's why it started. Right. I think lockdown happened. My daughter was into singing, so she wanted to start doing some recording and singing and singing to backing tracks and things like that. My son was into his gaming. He's got the Xbox and he wanted to start doing PC gaming. And I'm thinking, right, there's it's a lot of money, it sounds like, needs to be spent here to buy this PC. If I'm going to do that, then I'm going to get in on the action as well, So it was a bit of a joke with my son. He's kind of a teenager now. He likes his PC gaming. He wanted to do Twitch streaming. And I said, well, I'm going to do the same thing as you are then, because I want to learn about all of that and understand it for myself. And I thought, I'd always wanted to do something with the tech community, working in the industry for so long, attending the events, the Ignites, the Tech Eds, the Future Decoded, and all the UK-based events. I've done it for so many years, and I've always been kind of on the peripheral of all the community activity. I thought, well, maybe this could be almost like, kill several birds with one stone. Build a PC, put myself out there a little bit, start blogging, help my son learn how to do streaming, help him how to do video editing and use graphic design tools because he was interested in that kind of stuff, as well as, seeing where I could go with things. And it was, so I kind of started that back in the summer of 2020, building a PC, being a bit obnoxious with my lighting arrangement. And, you'll know, Gregor, you've been party to a few conversations over the socials over the last year or so. It's, I've just done it purely for fun, just to have a really good crack, meet new people, and just really get involved with it. But I think when it comes to the YouTube series, I always had it in the back of my mind, I'd like to do some video recording like this. Yep. Had a couple of ideas, spoke with my other half, spoke with a few community members, what might work, what might not work. Saw a few other community members doing similar things with, interviewing people. I thought, well, look, I'm good at talking. I think I ramble on and on. Yeah. Maybe that might be something that I could use in order to kind of, I'm always searching for those little nuggets of information from everybody. We've all got them in our minds, those really golden pieces of information that kind of help everybody. I thought, well, the idea was if I could bring on a community member, whether they're technical, whether they're working in, some other area of tech or their personal development, anything around that area, I thought would be cool to kind of bring somebody on every week. Well, actually, I thought, well, shall I do it every 2 weeks? I didn't know how long to do it. And so I started every week and it kind of stuck. And at the same time, I said, right, I'm going to do another show, and a weekly show, which is more of like an Azure update show. Just, again, to help me get me into that rhythm of actually reading the Azure update page every week. And even if I'm just reading it once just to see what has come out, hopefully some of that stays in my brain somewhere. And it just, again, it kind of helps you stay on top as best you can. Nobody ever stays on top 100%. Of course you can't. But it kind of, what it's like. If you read one thing, hopefully it sticks there. Next time you're in conversation with a customer or a colleague, right, I remember seeing something about that. Let me go and have a little look. So that weekly show then turned, it's a bit like I want to change it up. There's loads of different ideas, but it's just, again, time and moving on to changing things up as best you can and whatnot. But it turns into a little bit of an Azure update show. I talk a little bit about the Welsh Azure user group, what's been going on in that space. Community call-outs. I love doing the community call-outs because there's so much community content that I watch that I try and, I'm sure you're the same, Gregor. There's so much out there. It's, like you say, it's so difficult to stay on top of everybody's awesome content at times. But I do try and watch and, kind of consume as much as I can. And basically what I do is when I do that, if I retweet something, a lot of the times I'll retweet things just so I can go back through my tweets so I can go, right, that's of interest. I want to read that. Or, and I use it as a little bit like a bookmarking thing. But I thought, would it be cool if I talk about those things that I bookmarked and see, if people are following me, they can see the kind of things that I'm looking at and the kind of things that I'm doing. Just hopefully that will inspire or make people go, oh, I didn't realize that, or, those moments. So all in all, I kind of came up with the concept of those two shows, and they kind of have stuck every week. And I'm quite proud. It was kind of a goal, probably about 2 or 3 months after starting, and I kind of got that regular cadence up, and I was going, and it was going well, and I was enjoying it. I thought, I wonder if I could get to a year, just have a nice whole year of every Friday 2 shows. And look, this is partly why we're doing this video, Gregor, I think, is I'm happy to have kind of got to that milestone, if you like. So yeah, lots to play for. How I change this up. Do I stop it? Do I change it? There's lots of things going on at the moment for the new year. So, looking forward to seeing what it brings, basically.
Yeah, from talking to people in the community, I think they all love your show. So please don't change it too much. The end conversation must definitely keep doing that. That's really, really useful.
Yeah.
It's done 50 odds, is that right?
Yeah, well, I think, short of 1 or 2 technical challenges that I've had, I think I'm on course for the 50, 52, 53. I think I may have done an extra 1 or 2 episodes. I tried a live episode once. And there's a few other little bits and pieces in there. But yeah, I'm up into the 50s. So pretty much 1 a week, every Friday for an entire year it's been. So this is...
Well, I think on behalf of everyone in the community, keep going. Yeah, don't stop. Keep going.
Yeah, well, to be honest, there's some guests lined up already for the new year, and people we've had to rearrange because for Christmas. So, I want to do those shows. So, we'll see. There's it's all positive. There's lots of different things and ways that it could go, and I enjoy doing it. So that's the main thing, I think.
Okay, so let's move on again. Let's talk about MVP. So
Yeah.
I've got your tweet up where John Lunn's just received his email to say congratulations 2021 Microsoft MVP. Talk me through the whole process of that and how did it feel when you got that email on the day?
Well, look, I mean, we'd had conversations. I think a little bit into. Obviously, we met. You were probably one of the first people I met in community when I started doing a few bits and pieces, and I think at the time I knew that this thing called an MVP existed. I never ever put myself in that same category of people. I always thought, well, that's great. That's for people that write books, do awesome,
Yeah.
big events, and speak at these big events. I didn't kind of knew about it, but didn't really know about it at the same time. So I just parked it. It was like, well, I'm just doing this for all the reasons we just talked about, helping my son out. I'm doing a bit of just getting involved and, a little bit tongue in cheek at times, a little bit fun and whatever, just enjoying it. And I think after I started getting into a bit of a cadence and a rhythm, a couple of people across the community, including yourself, Gregor, kind of mentioned it to me. And I was like, well, okay, look, I'd be happy to get nominated. That's a privilege in its own. Having peers recognise that you're doing something valuable or at least engaging for the community is just an accolade in itself. And I think after those couple of conversations, I got nominated. It was Murtietta actually nominated. I know he spoke with yourself and a few others across the community, Gregor, and I thank everybody for that. Kind of backing up the nomination. I mean, for those that don't know the process, you go through a little bit of a process where you kind of have to, show and describe your contributions to the community over the previous 12 months. So went through that, spoke with Claire, and obviously had a bit of a chat. And I thought, well, at that point, I was still, yeah, great. This is awesome. I'm still not expecting to be given anything, And I think after speaking with Claire at the time, she said, look, we're quite busy. There's a lot of nominations. So I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you. She said it might be 3 or 4 months before we get any kind of a response, through the team, and it's got to go off for approvals and things like that. So it's like, look, like I say, just being nominated is good enough for me. And then literally, yeah, like I think it was the 1st of August I got awarded. So on the 1st of August, I think I was watching, I can't remember, I was watching a bit of daytime TV, I think, or I was watching a repeat or something, and just an email. I was with my wife sat on the sofa, and this email popped up on my phone, it was just one of those things you read it and you think, oh right, is this like just saying sorry you haven't been successful? It's like, hang on a second, I've just received this. So I just showed it to my wife at the time. She's like, it was just like a state of disbelief, Wow, okay.
That tweet was on August the 1st and it's got over 300 likes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I've got it here. So
yeah. So I mean, obviously the community is awesome. The people we all know in the community are phenomenal. Everybody's just brilliant, and you put up something like that, and
I've got one question for you. Has your idea of what an MVP has changed from what it was originally? Because I was a bit like you. I didn't really know what it was for and who it was, what kind of people were in it. But I think you've described it really well, the way what you've said.
I guess yes. My view of what an MVP has changed. But I think the program may have changed over the years as well. Anyway, so I think. Because obviously when you get like nominated or you're thinking of going for an MVP, of course, like you're going to read up about it. You're going to read other people's opinions and see where it's come from. And, you look at the history of the MVP process. And I think for me, it's right that there isn't any specific criteria to become an MVP. I think that the general rule of thumb is that you're doing something impactful within your local community or for the group or community or wherever it is that you stand in the technical community. You're doing something that is being recognised by peers, is being helpful and a positive influence towards people to help them learn or help them do something constructive and positive. So for me, I can reflect back on the stuff I've done now, and it makes sense to me now. At the time when I was doing the stuff, I didn't quite fit the two together. So I guess in that regard now, I've got more of a confident understanding of, well, I kind of get it now. What it means to be an MVP is to be that positive influence, that helper, that person, that go-to person in your local community that you can go to for an answer, or will help you get an answer. And I'm very proud to be able to call myself an MVP, and I would, like you, Gregor, I'm always happy to help anybody out in any capacity, and I know you're exactly the same, and I know the whole bunch of MVPs that we mutually know, we're all of a very similar mindset in that regard, which is, to be honest, it's like they say, what's the old saying? It's like, if you want to be successful, surround yourself with successful people. And I think there's none truer statement than that, being surrounded by such awesome people, kind of, we lift each other up as best we can, and support each other when we have our bad moments. I think that's equally worth pointing out as well.
How did it feel once the award? So the award arrives in the box. Talk me through talk me through opening it and reading it, and how did you feel?
It's like a kid at Christmas, Gregor, I think it's probably fair to say. I think you get that parcel. The first thing I did is take a picture of it, put it on Twitter. It's got to be done. It is like a kid at Christmas. I think it turned up. It's, you can see it there just above my head on the shelf. The trophy is just up by there, and then the certificate. I think at the time I did an unboxing video, only to try. I'd never done an unboxing video. Let me try and do one of them. Let me see how this works.
Fun.
Yeah, well, that was it. So no, it was great, and it's really, to be honest with you, I'm not an award-winning person generally, Greg. I don't tend to win awards on occasion. So, receiving my first, if you like, industry accolade is, it's quite humbling to a certain extent. And wow, okay, everything that I've done over the last year, 18 months, has kind of been recognised by the vendor that I predominantly work with. That can only be a good thing, it's not a bad thing at all. So I was, humbled, and I still am obviously very proud to be able to call myself an MVP.
Same here. Yeah, I feel exactly the same. Right. Let's move on, because that was good. I've got some general questions. So one or two people in the community asked me to ask you questions.
Okay.
So Simon, our good friend, wants to know, what does it feel like to be a content influencer?
Yeah. We've had this conversation a couple of times, and it makes me chuckle, only because I can't quite believe. There's a little bit of a backstory and a loaded question, I think, from Simon there. So for those that don't know, if you follow my Twitter feed or whatever, there are times that I'll post some obnoxious pictures of my setup in green or blue or whatever lighting, just because I think it looks cool. And look at that, and it engage. People do engage with you quite quickly. And this is probably, go back to your other question, Gregor. What else have I learned? And I suppose I've learned, in some small way, the art of marketing as well. That personal branding and and sometimes you might. It probably crept up on me, but sometimes it's easy to just go, well, okay, I work in tech. I'm going to speak about tech things. I'm just going to do something, which is great. But equally, I think it's fair to say generally in tech, the majority of us are seen as, very much monotone. We talk about one thing and maybe not so engaging. And I get that. I'm like that at times. Even now I ramble on and on and on. And I'm like very mindful of it. We've all got brilliant things to say. We're all very clever generally within our own fields. But it's that art of portraying that over to somebody that you want to engage. Maybe it's just starting into the industry for the first time. So back to the question. See, I can ramble. But the Simon said about a tech influencer, because I was kind of doing all these photos, and I was tagging in people like Go for the lighting, Elgato for the equipment and cameras and things like that, and for more lighting that I've got set up here. Well, Elgato reached out to me, and they actually sent me some gear, just for kind of effectively promoting Elgato. So I guess that's the point Simon is picking up on there. And look, I seriously don't see myself as a tech influencer, but in a strange way, I guess I am, because
you must be.
It's very bizarre. It is very bizarre. I find it fun because that relationship has gone on. It's gone further, and it's going into 2022 now with Elgato sponsoring some cool stuff that we got coming up in the new year with a few other community people with prizes. They're actually putting a budget together for us to host various events and kind of back that up with, I've got to say they are awesome products, Elgato products, of course. Yeah. I can't say not sponsored. Am I sponsored? I don't know. but yeah, people like that. So, it's just a great brand. And look, that is, who'd have thought, Who'd have thought that would ever come to the point,
I was doing a little bit of looking on your YouTube channel, and one of your first videos is like it's just white behind you with no
Yeah.
lights, no that. And I'm like, look
Oh
how far
yeah. No.
it's a show now. It's a real show.
Well,
So
this is it.
no,
I mean, it's good fun. Like you don't realize, people see you today as you are with all the stuff that you've got going on, with your shelving, with all your personal, and they don't realize that you started somewhere. And I think that's a key point to kind of get over to people is that if you don't start, then you're not going to get anywhere. So always think there's just if you're going to do something, whatever that is, make a start because there's a journey for everybody. And look, I'm on my own as we all are.
I want to give a quick shout out to Izzy for organising the competition that she did, where she was
Yes.
showing everybody's internal backgrounds and all that. So,
Oh
do you want
no,
to give us
well,
talk about that?
I know I was going to mention that as well. Yeah, absolutely, because I know you were part of that with Judgenet. I thought it was an awesome idea because I think we've all been locked away. I mean, when Izzy came up with the idea, I thought that's just such a brilliant thing to do because we've all been locked away, staring at the four walls for 12, 18 months. We know community has grown and people have gone and done their own things. We've all got our nice backgrounds. We've got our potted plants, and it was just a lot of people doing it. And everybody was commenting, "What mic are you using? What camera are you using?"
Yeah.
I thought it was a great little poignant thing to do with Izzy, getting people to send pictures in of their front facing and rear facing, and make it a competition. So. And just purely from the point of view of helping others with ideas and inspiring people of what you could do or what you can do, and just getting the community talking about it. Because again, I guess it's something to take our mind off the fact that we've literally been stuck indoors for so long. So it was a great thing. Yeah, so that was awesome.
Yep. Okay. Next question. How do you find the time to balance work, create content, and family time?
Yeah, and that's a brilliant question, and it's probably a difficult question to answer because I think I'll start off by saying it's not easy. I think it's easy for me to sit here and go, oh well, you just do this, you just do that, and it's not at all. I think let's speak honestly about this. Everybody struggles with that whole time thing. I don't think I've spoken to anybody that doesn't say they struggle with it. Even more so when you factor in, doing, most of us have got 9 to 5s, or we work for ourselves or a contractor, but we've got some kind of commitment that we need to earn money to pay the bills that we have to do. Most of us then have got some other investment, whether that be family, whether that be parents, relatives, where you've got kids or wives and husbands or whatever it may be, and you have to, and when you turn to doing community stuff, there is so much. I think when you do one thing, you get pulled into another thing, then that leads on to 3 more things, and before you know it, you're kind of spiraling out of control almost to, if you say yes to everything, then you would have no time. And the bottom line is, I think for me, it's about sacrifice, and I think it kind of boils down to, we all know, or we should know, what is good for our own individual circumstances with how often and how much family time and personal time is right on balance to do things, how much time we have to invest in our day job. That's generally contracted out to us, so we know how much time we need to spend on doing our day job, and then how much time have we got then in between those two poignant chunks of your life. Can you fit in community work? And look, I don't think I've got it right 100% over the last year or 18 months. There's certainly times where I've done a bit too much. I've missed, thankfully, not thankfully, however you want to frame it, we've not been able to go very far the last year or 18 months. But certainly over the last few months since we've been getting back out and about, I've certainly missed activities from my kids to do community stuff. And equally, I've missed time away from my wife to do community stuff. Now, at times, it's that balance, isn't it? At times I've made the wrong choice because I probably should have did that family thing. But then equally, there have been other times where, I maybe should have done some more community stuff. But it's finding that balance. And I think we're all different. It is difficult. It genuinely is difficult. As an individual, I've always found that I'm relatively good with time management and keeping keeping stock of when I've got to do things and by when, and so I generally don't tend to get mounted up with lots of things on my to-do list and things like that. I try empty my inbox. I try and stay on top of things best I can. So that I think that plays in my favour, but it is difficult, and I don't think I've got the magic answer for anybody. I think it's probably just be very mindful of your own. Everybody's got their own individual circumstances. Just be very mindful and speak to your family about it as well. Make sure they're aware of why you're doing some of these things. Is it just for your own fun and just that you I don't know, you don't like your family? I don't know, it might be the case for some people, but for me it's not. Of course, I want to spend time. I want to be there with my wife, with the kids, doing activities, but equally I do thoroughly enjoy the community stuff, and I think you find a balance. At times you're going to get it wrong, at times it's going to be right, and I think for me it just kind of happens. But having said that, it hasn't been easy. It certainly is a struggle that I don't think I've got an answer for. I think you just have to find your own way. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you've any big plans for 2022, and can you talk about your Elgato stuff? You've covered both, so I'm going to pick a question on the fly. It's a difficult question, but what's been your highlight this year?
Oh, highlight. That's an off the wall question. So, at risk of sounding cliched, but just like now, for me, doing this with you now is a highlight, because this is the latest point in my journey. Yeah, so this is where I currently got to. Everything that's gone on before that has led up to this point, and like I said, I genuinely don't want this to sound like a cliched speech or anything like that, but the way that I look at things is that you do these various bits and pieces, and I've been involved in so many awesome community bits and pieces that I never thought I'd ever be involved with. There's been things like, only a month or so ago, I did a talk with Pete and Cliff on Microsoft Learn TV for Flight into IoT. It's like, well, how did that happen? And that's just because Pete and Cliff know my passion for IoT, and they kind of pulled me into that. I've spoken at various user groups over the last year or 18 months. I've spoken with so many brilliant community people. I think the MVP obviously is like a headline point that happened during this time for me that was kind of up there. That's very much up there. But I think genuinely now, today, it's Christmas, it's Christmas time. We're all kind of thinking about New Year's resolutions, what do we want out of life for the next year, and family, friends, work, all of those good things. And I think this is the point where you do have that time to kind of sit back, take your own life and things like that. So everything I've done has been highs. There's certainly been lows. I've had personal lows, absolutely, this year, without a shadow of a doubt, with my mum passing. The community absolutely helped me through that as well. I was inundated with messages of support, and that alone, that is a poignant highlight that needs to kind of be called out. I think people don't realise when you message, even though it was a very sad time, you look at community and how they kind of tried to lift me out of that terrible, it's not great, that terrible point in my life. But yeah, so does that make sense, Gregor? I think it's probably
it does make sense.
It's a bit of a broad thing, but hopefully people take something from that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, so you're talking about being lifted up and all that, and I reached out, so you don't know about this, but I reached out to a few people in the community who know you very well, and put a little video together. So I just want to say thank you from me to everyone who's taken part in this. Thank you to everyone who's done this. I've sent you the link, and I know you've not seen this, but would you mind playing this little video that you've not seen? It's just a little thank you.
No, I've got it on my screen. I've not clicked play. Yeah. Right, let me flick over to the...
Hopefully the sound works.
Oh, I know. Right, let's click play then. Let's have a listen.
Hey, Johnny, it's Izzy here from Switzerland. Hope you're doing well. I would just like to take the opportunity to say thank you for everything you're doing for us in the community. I wish you all the best for 2022. And my question for you is, have you ever been to beautiful Switzerland? So here's my current view. It's very cold and foggy.
Looks amazing.
Nevertheless,
need to go to Switzerland.
I do hope you make it here one day.
Me too.
See you. Take care.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Johnny. It's Pete Gallagher, or Pete_Codes on Twitter, as you like to introduce yourself. I'd just like to say thanks so much for everything you do in the community. Keep up all the great work. Cheers, pal.
Hey, Johnny, it's Wesley here. Thank you for all that you do in the community. I think it's completely awesome. Keep it up, and all the best for 2022.
Oh.
Hey Johnny, it's Jamie here. Just a quick message to say hi and thank you for all that you do with the user group and the show that you run. Keep up the good work, mate, and I hope you have a good time with the family and stuff over Christmas and New Year. All right, peace.
Brilliant. Okay.
Hi Johnny, it's Heiko from Scriptrunner. Thanks a lot for all the things you do for the Welsh Azure user group and your great YouTube channel. Keep up the good work and let's rock 2022.
Yes, let's rock, Heiko.
Hey John, it's Martin here.
Hey,
I just wanted to say thank you for not just everything you do for the community, but also everything you've helped promote with other people in the community as well. Not just the other MVPs, but you go a long way to promoting other people's activities and the great things that they're doing as well. And you are a real true member of our quite awesome cloud family. So thanks very much for everything you do. Hope you have a great Christmas and awesome 2022.
Hey John, Maria Anastasia is here. Thank you for the amazing work you do in the community. Your content is so helpful and fun for us.
Hey Johnny, it's Derek Campbell from Octopus Deploy. I just want to say thanks so much for all your streams and all your user groups this year. You're doing a great work. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, buddy.
Hi John, it's Jurgen. I just wanted to say thank you for everything you're doing for the Azure user group and for inspiring me to become a bigger part of the community. Keep up the good work.
Hey Johnny, it's Derek Smith. I just wanted to record a special message saying thank you for everything you do with the Welsh Azure user group and Jonnychipz. Appreciate the streaming, the interviewing, buddy. You're crushing it and keep rocking it within the Azure community. Take care, man.
Hey Johnny, it's Andrew. I just wanted to take a moment here to thank you for all the hard work you've been doing for the last year running the Welsh Azure user group and also just keeping up with the live streaming with your Cloud Talks. I know that we're going to be looking forward to a lot of cool things in 2022, so hoping that we have cool projects coming up and we can help more people get into cloud.
Yo, Jonnychipz, what's up, man? It's Mike Pfeiffer. Hey, dude, I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you do in the Azure community, for all the work you do in the user group, the live streaming. It's awesome, man. Keep up the good work. Thanks, bud.
Hey John, Pixel Robots here. Just want to say thanks for everything you've been doing in the community. Keep it up, and 2022 is going to be amazing.
Hey John, everyone from the cloud. No, stop. Hey John, happy Christmas from all of us at the cloud management community. We just want to say well done on the amazing year you've had, and congratulations on finally getting to an MVP status. Lots of love. Bye.
Love the hats.
Bye, John.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hi, John, aka
yes.
Jonnychipz. This is it's me, Shabazz, and this is my end of year message to you, mate. Just wanted to say, first of all, that just thank you so much personally from me for all the inspiration and for everything you've done for this community as well, mate. You know, every week you strive to give us all updates and the Welsh Azure user group and so much more. And I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the cloud community. I'm sure they won't mind me doing that. And again, personally from me as well, you've been a massive inspiration to me, as I said. And I really appreciate all the call outs and shout outs that you've given me. And thank you again from on behalf of the community. You're always striving to push other people and promote other people. And I just wanted to thank you for all that effort and hard work you do. You've had such an amazing year. I know you've had a tough year as well, mate. I know it's been a difficult year for personal reasons. But just remember that, you know, people in the cloud community, we all love and appreciate everything you do. So massive thank you from me and everybody else. Now I do have a quick question for you, however. If you were not doing what you do as for a living, so you weren't working in IT, you weren't doing this whole community thing, what profession would you be doing, do you think? You know, maybe an ice hockey referee. I know you like going to ice hockey. So what other profession would you be doing if you weren't doing IT?
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. I can't believe that, Gregor. Thanks for that. That's
Okay, very welcome.
I'm a bit taken aback by that. That was awesome. I don't know what to say. I think, well, I mean,
let me just say thank you for letting me do this. Be the host of your own show. I'll give you the last word in a minute, but I just wanted to say on behalf of everyone in the community, thanks for what you do. Everyone really appreciates how nice you are. Everyone appreciates all the content you do. We all realise it's quite difficult to put all this content together. So just a big thank you to you, John, for everything that you do. And I'll let you have the last word.
No, Gregor, I mean, I'm going to bat it all right back. You know I am. I think, look, this is what being part of this community is all about for me, is just, you know, the amount of support and encouragement and enthusiasm that you get. I mean, how awesome the people that you had in that video, just in that video alone. There was, well, how many awesome people did you get together? You know, it's like I say, I'm a bit taken aback to know what to say. I mean, wow, I think for me, I'm privileged, I'm proud to be part of this. And again, I hate sounding cliche, Gregor, right? I hate it, but it's you know, I want people to realise how genuine it is, because I think being part of this awesome community just helps us all out. You know, everybody just needs to keep it positive. Help each other. You know, everybody's got their own personal pains. You know, as we know, you know, it's not great. Life is sometimes there to kick us, you know, and probably kick us when we least expect it and when we're down. As long as you've got people around you that you can turn to, and look, some of us have never met before. Some of us have only ever spoken across Twitter, you know, never even spoken over a video call. But it's true. It feels like, you know, you are part of this one huge cloud family, where if one of us is experiencing difficulties or not knowing which way to go with a technical issue, you know that you've got a whole heap of people out there to kind of lift you up and put you there. So my little part is I'm going to make sure that I'm lifting and pushing as many people up as I possibly can for the next year as well. And thank you, Gregor. No, you know, reaching out and suggesting this episode is couldn't have ended for me on a more poignant kind of end of that year of these videos. So huge thanks to you, buddy. Thanks for doing it.
No worries. Thanks for letting me do it.
Cool. Right. Well, we'll end it there then. Have I taken back in charge of the convo now?
You can have the reins back. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, Gregor. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.